So the Hammond organ was a key part of Tony Banks' setup in the studio and live for about a decade. I think all of you know this, probably from 1970 to 1980. I don't think it's on the Duke album, but he used it on the Duke tour. And then in the 80s, he continued to use Hammond organ-like sounds, but on the Prophet 10. And who knows what he did beyond then. I've never really paid attention to that. I'm sure it was samples in the 90s and modeled organs in the 21st century, digital. So I'm going to talk to you about how to get those 70s sounds. So I have up here one of many of the digital Hammond plugins that I have. This is the IK Multimedia Hammond B3X. It's the most recent one that I have. I like it very much. So I'll talk about programs more, but I do want to, I'll start this video off with why any digital Hammond that you find is already going to be different than what Tony Banks used. So the B3, C3, that family of organs, those were called console organs. They had 61 keys on both manuals. What is that, 25 note pedal board? And they had reverse color preset keys. And there were two, this doesn't look like it, but on a real B3, there's 2 sets of drawbars per manual. So this is, for screen's size sake, reduced. So you'd have 9 drawbars next to each other, and then you would choose between those presets with these. And then same thing on the right side for the lower manual. One would be this, one would be that. And then you'd have 2 drawbars for the pedals. And the percussion section, that attack section, would only be on the upper manual. And then you would have a vibrato scanner. You know, if you didn't have a Leslie, this would be that kind of warbly sound. So if I just pull this up, the default, it's like a jazz organ. Like a Jimmy Smith type sound. And if you have like a Casio or, you know, some other more basic, I don't want to say basic in a bad way, but like a simplified digital keyboard or something, it's going to be that sound. And it's very decidedly on Tony Banks. So a lot of you might be using presets or samples and you're like, oh, why can't I get it to sound like that? So here is the spinet organ. So console, spinet. These were meant to be in homes. They were smaller. 49 keys and then another 49 keys, and they're offset by an octave. 13-note pedal board instead of 25. The footprint on stage is a lot smaller. So Tony Banks had an L series, I think, don't quote me on this, that was his first Hammond up until Foxtrot and Genesis Live. And then from what I've seen online, he replaced it with a T series. So I'll talk about the difference between the L and the T, and then we'll put it on this. So an L series had a tube amp, and a T series had a solid state amp. And according to legend, solid state amps had less key click, that note on, note off sound when you play a Hammond organ sound, that little poppy sound. So I'll turn the percussion off. So what the heck is percussion? I mean, this is a kind of a beginner Hammond organ thing. I don't want to try to make this for everybody. So turn it on. It's that attack. It's this drawbar when it's on 3rd harmonic percussion. This is an over a harmonic. But when it's on second, it's the same as this 4-foot drawbar, which is the fundamental. As far as I know, Tony Banks never used the third harmonic. He used the second. But I'm going to turn this off for now. And I never heard him use the vibrato scanner, which is selected here. Let me pull out some drawbars. So anything with a V is vibrato. And then with a C, it's vibrato and chorus. Very jazz organ. I feel like a lot of prog guys use this. I hear it on Rick Wakeman, organ parts, Keith Emerson, but Tony Banks did not use that. So this is kind of by the way, I'm playing on a mini keyboard, 25 keys, so I'm not going to be shredding things up. This is very Ben Montench. Turn the Leslie on fast. Okay, so that's a pretty standard sound. So if you have a digital plug-in, you turn the percussion off, turn the chorus off, and you're already close. But I wanted to demonstrate the key clicks. So if I go into any kind of thing here, that's pretty standard. Controls. Ah, there it is. Key click on, key click off. So if I want to make it... Turn it all the way up. Just a little popping sound, right? So if it's true that the solid state organs had less click, then maybe do that, right? Okay. So, look at this manual. Isn't this cool? So, the lower drawbars, if I don't know if I can blow this up in screen record mode, but that is an 8-foot, 4-foot drawbar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Lower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, the lower draw manual. By the way, I wouldn't do any of these Tony Banks organ parts on one keyboard. He did a lot of parts two-fisted on 2 different manuals. Even splitting an 88-key keyboard doesn't quite work out. So if you want the authentic way to do this, you use only these drawbars on the lower manual. Do not use those. And you can still offset your hand. You can kind of play it like he did. You know, chords down here, upper chords and leads up here. So you can still do it this way. Just keep in mind, if you keep this 16-foot, these are all going to sound an octave too low. So if you want to get your hand, without doing transposing, you just do it with the drawbars. That's how Hammond players do it. So omit those, play down here, and you're there. The upper drawbars were a full complement, right? There's the 16-foot. So these you can use whatever combination you like. Okay. So this is the T-Series manual. So I am speaking from a seconds out, Lamb, Duke, you know, that whole era. So if you're dedicated to Trespass, Nursery Crime, Foxtrot, I don't know much about the L organ, but you could do what I did and Google the manual and follow this. So I'm looking at all these controls and I'm thinking, what did he use? What didn't he use? I mean, he didn't use any of this. That's a lot of stuff for the pedal, like little cymbal effects and all that. So the drawbar for the pedal, geez, I don't have my usual mouse with me. I have this old mouse, and it's taking me forever to scroll. Sorry about. Oh, there it is. The pedal drawbar was only this one, so leave that one in. Did he use the pedal? Yeah, he used it on Cinema Show. You can see my videos. Cinema Show and Musical Box, the very ending. You know, just parts where Rutherford stepped away to change guitars or rock out at the front of the stage. He filled in some bass parts. So yeah, I don't know. Do you have a 13-note pedal laying around, MIDI pedal? It's not worth it. But if you need to grab those notes and maybe throw them on another keyboard. Okay, what else is here? Vibrato. He didn't use any of this. He did not use the reverb. He probably used this. This is kind of like that on Hammond. You know, here is more of a, like, soft. It's just a volume change. But this brilliance may be like an EQ boost, and I don't see that on any of these. I don't even know if he used it. Okay, so I don't know about that. Definitely didn't use these. Okay, percussion and presets. So this is very important. If you watch, I think probably the best video, if you can find that 1980 Lyceum video, I think someone on YouTube has a Tony cam. You can see him doing this during the knife. That's how I kind of figured out what the heck goes on with the knife. So this is drawbars and percussion, meaning that when this tab was down, it would be like on the Hammond playing on the upper manual and having one of these presets. I think it might even be this one. So it gives you the complement of the percussion on, and it gives you whatever your drawbar setting is. So I'm just going to make this sound up here. That's not the sound. Calm down. I'm just playing you something. But whatever setting you had for Supper's Ready solo, Robbery, Assault and Battery. What is that? Whatever it is. I'm going to make a video of that someday. So anything that had percussion, those are the ones that are coming off the top of my head. They would be done on this because he was using percussion. Okay. The opening organ part of Dancing with the Moonlit Night, he would just, whatever this percussion only thing is, you would just have to do it on this and push these in. And then, okay, now let's talk about the percussion. You can have a normal volume. It's kind of weird because it dips the drawbars. You hear more percussion than drawbars, right? Here's soft. Well, since this drawbar is out, it's kind of obscuring the percussion, which is the same frequency. So if I go to advanced, and again, your plugins may vary, percussion volume normal, volume compensation is off. Let's put that on and put it on normal. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Yeah. Yeah, so that's too much percussion. This is pretty cool. And if you follow Dave Kersner's Genesis page on Facebook, there's a mod on Tony Banks's right around there that is a boost the percussion, and these controls on this plugin do that. So, oh my God, this keyboard is too tiny for this. So already I've kind of made it pretty close to what Tony Banks did. All right, so let's see. So a lot of people have asked me, what are the drawbar settings? What are they? I don't know, man. This is my theory as someone I have a Hammond organ. I've played them a lot. If you're using the drawbars, no one remembers. You don't remember what you did. You're kind of like, oh, I need a Jimmy Smith sound for this song. I need a gospel sound for this one. I need kind of a reggae sound for this. You just kind of know it that way. So based on listening to different live bootlegs and things like that, you could go crazy trying to figure out all the drawbar settings because it was probably different. If you kind of use these kind of like a filter on a synth, like you might make it brighter to hear yourself in the mix at that moment in time. So there's people that have probably broken this down more studiously than I have. So if whatever was on this, do it by ear. But it is worth noting that he would swap between these three. And what are they? Well, look at this old school manual. Strings, 8 foot. Let's see what this sounds like. 0, 0, 8, 8, 8, 8, 6, 6, 6. Oh. Supper's Ready reference. Okay, so my percussion is off because it wouldn't have percussion on. Okay, that's that preset. Full tibia, 16 foot. 8, 0, 6, 808. Oh, another reference. 006. And then full theater brass, 16 foot. So we've got 8-4, 8, 8, 6, 8, 6, 6, 6. So pop those drawbar settings into your Hammond emulation and then be prepared to anything, to make your own sounds on the upper manual or the lower manual. And you have a lot of your Tony Banks sounds, because I think what he did is he had a sound here, and if he needed to switch during the song, he would hit one of these. My theory is this. God, I don't even have enough keys to play the knife. If you watch the 1980 video of the knife, I'm not going to play the low note because I don't have it. And then he hit this button and got the ba 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 ba, and that has the second harmonic. And then he had a lower bass sound set up here for the, and that one's going like sorry, I'm playing with a mouse. So lower preset, drawbars for the other row of preset of drawbars, which remember were only from 8 foot onward. And I think he had a lot of his pads and stuff, quieter things down there. There is a lower preset, ensemble. Let's see what it is. It's I'll just do it on this upper manual because I only have one MIDI controller. 8, 6. 66444. I don't know, maybe he used that. So if you're asking me what presets did he use, I would say load these in, upper manual, lower manual, and then be prepared to program your own, and maybe it was different from night to night. Cool? Cool. All right. So percussion voices. This is interesting, but I really, here's what I suspect. I think he only used one of these. Celeste, 4-foot Celeste quality, which may be used by itself. So that 4-foot Celeste is second harmonic percussion. Remember I pulled out the 4-foot drawbar? That's that. So Squonk, Supper's Ready Solo, Apocalypse in 9/8, Robbery, Assault and Battery, Intro to Dancing with the Moonlit Night. He had this down. I don't think he used banjo or any of this stuff. I don't think I've ever heard this is like a repeating, like if you know Baba O'Reilly with a Lowry organ, I think that was it, like a marimba with a repeat or reiterate. So, someone might chime in and let me know. I have to be honest, I don't really know the early albums very well, and I definitely don't know live bootlegs, so some of you may know more about this. Cymbal and brush, didn't use. Pedal tones, he just used a straight on-off thing. Okay, so this had a built-in Leslie. So that's the other thing I want to talk about next. So right now I'm just using the default Leslie. You can hear that it's stereo. So another way to do Tony Banks organ sounds right. Regretfully, he never used the I mean, what if he had hit this once in a while? No. I mean, if he was in the Faces or he was Billy Preston or something like that, I mean, he would have turned that. He knew that was a thing, right? But he just didn't. He used it more like a pad. So never put the Leslie on fast. Don't use distortion. I don't think this thing was ever distorted. I mean, maybe you heard some tubes breaking up in volume, but nah, pretty simple. So, mess with the percussion volume ratio, reduce key click, have two manuals. The lower manual, don't ever use the lower two here. Be prepared to use percussion, but only second harmonic. No chorus, no overdrive. And if you want to be truly authentic, have an octave of 16-foot bass pedal. And that is how you make that sound. So, I have another channel here of the same instrument. But I have Amplitube. And in Amplitube, I have the MXR Phase 100 model. There it is, Phaser 10. It's pretty good. Right now, I just have it on the narrow out of phase setting. My rate's about there. It's probably wrong. I'm sure 7 to 8 of you will comment that it's wrong, but I didn't spend too much time on it, so don't worry about it. And then I've got the Boss CE1 chorus, and since I have it at the end of the chain, it's in stereo. And I just have it somewhere in the middle, maybe. This is just kind of quick and dirty. Let me open up this Hammond. So this is the 77 to 80 organ sound once he got rid of the Leslie. It takes a while for this plugin to open. So let me do the things. Let me turn this off. Volume's a little lower, isn't it? Let me reduce the key click. Let me put the volume compensation on. There we go. There's some kind of reverb on this, isn't there? So I go into my cabinets and I have the Leslie off and the DI on. I could probably boost my DI. That's not the exact sound, but I just wanted to let you know. I'll let you hear what that sounded like and looked like. So, there we go. There's one other thing about the Spinet versus a console, and that is the foldback. If you are unfamiliar with foldback, first of all, whenever the percussion is on, it disables this. So I'm going to pull that all the way out. Can't hear it, right? Now I'm going to turn it off. Hear that high whistle? So if I take this, here's foldback. Hear how this is that? So anyway, on the higher drawbars, it does that. Right? And on the low drawbars, it does that in the bass. So. Okay, now, does anybody think that they're going to really notice that foldback difference, especially when down here and you're playing lower on the keyboard, you only have those notes that don't have foldback, and up here, when you're doing big chords, say you're using that, whatever that was, what was that full? Let's say it was this. I'm just pulling this out right now. I mean, that's a lot of information. So I've seen some blowhards on the internet. Well, you need the spinet to do this supper's ready part because of the foldback. I mean, okay, that's really awesome that that you really notice that, but I don't. I had an M3, a Hammond M3. That was it's like the Green Onions organ. And you just play it, and you're like, oh, this sounds great. And then you play a Hammond B3, and you're like, oh, yeah, this is cool. So my opinion is you can get Tony Banks sounds from any digital model. You just have to know what to turn on and turn off. And I would not sweat the foldback. But turning the Leslie off and using the MXR Phase 100 and the Boss Chorus Ensemble, or using a Leslie. I don't think it matters what Leslie you use. He did use, in the early days, I think, a 147-ish, because 147 era one, because you could use a preamp pedal for that. But yeah, you can totally do this. You just have to kind of know how to coax it out of it and where to play. I would recommend 2 manuals. I think that's key. Honestly, I think it's more important. I would use a decent computer with a program like this and 2 cheap MIDI controllers versus spending a ton of money for, say, a single manual Nord or Hammond. Like, if you're just after Tony Banks organ sounds. My opinion, Tony Banks wasn't much of an organist. And by that I mean he was an amazing player and composer, and he used the heck out of the organ. But you notice how quick he was to drop it in the 80s, and it didn't really affect the parts that he wrote or played. He didn't have like a Leslie. Like if you were doing gospel stuff and changing the drawbars during the verse to the chorus, I would say, yeah, get one of those dedicated Hammond things. But if you're just a guy who wants to play Tony Banks organ parts, you can use these programs. I think your money could be spent elsewhere if you're shopping around for it. So I have this. I actually got this from Dave Kersner because I was helping him program synths for his, when he was sampled Tony Banks's keyboards. He was kind of asking me a lot of questions and gave this as a thank you because he works for IK Multimedia. So that was very cool. I appreciate it. And this is the best Hammond plugin, in my opinion, because of how it sounds with the Leslie on fast. Oh, I have it off. I've always thought digital Hammonds were pretty good as long as you left them on slow. But once you kick it on fast, it just doesn't sound right. This is the first one that I liked enough, and I used it in a session recently. Someone said, do a Hammond organ part. They know that I have a B3. I was like, sure. I was like, let me demo it on this. And it sounded so good. I didn't tell them. I said, do you like this? And they said, great. And I was like, okay. It passed the test because normally someone would go, good, could you do it on the real B3? And I'd be like, okay. And I'd set the mics up. So I think this is fantastic. My previous favorite organ, which I used in some of my like Duke Tour videos when I was at my CP80 and needed an organ sound, was the, what is that called? That Italian one, the GSI VB3-2, which is fantastic. And its fast Leslie is like 98% believable. And I think it's I just think it's great. It's also the engine that's in the Mojo Crumar organs. So if you've seen videos with those or tried one in person, it's the same thing. I also have the Arturia B3V. I don't dislike it. I just haven't used it because I got it after I got the VB3 and this. So, in one of those vintage collection sales, and I got the full suite. So the VB3, the second version, I really disliked the first version, but they've since upgraded it. So V2 of the Arturia one is pretty great. And then the other one is the one that comes in Logic and Mainstage, which is also really good. Really, really, really good. And if you have 2 MIDI controllers stacked on top of each other and you're using Mainstage, you can use the multi-timbral controller mode and assign them without having to change MIDI channels on the controllers. And it works out really great. So, yeah, I think this is excellent. I would not have bought this because I already had VB3 and I own a Hammond organ. So this is a nice surprise, and I am using it currently in my band, the Genesis Show, and we're doing a set of arrangements from the 80 tour. So I'm using this on Los Endos and Dance with the Volcano and Follow You, Follow Me, Squonk, stuff that was done on that tour with a Hammond organ. And it's great. And I'm using Amplitude for the MXR Phase 100. I'm using my real CE3 in the effects loop. So I think this is a winner, but you don't need to buy this. Use the one in Logic and do all the tweaks that I did, or whichever one you have. So anyway, this is a long one. Hopefully you found it helpful. I don't think there's a lot of people that know all these things. So I hope you find it, my arcane knowledge useful. But yeah, you don't carry a real Hammond. I mean, don't be a hero unless you have a road crew. I don't have a road crew, so I use this. Okay, so you probably already have something like this, so make those sounds. Download this thing, Hammond T-Series Organ Manual. I always do that, like when I'm making quadra sounds. Synths that I don't have, the Prophet 10, like how's it different than my Prophet 6? I download a PDF of the manual, I read it, I look at the controls, and I can kind of put two and two together. So I always find this stuff is very interesting. I mean, look at the fonts. Isn't that cute? All right. Bye-bye.